Today's bike check is the 1986 Redline RL22 Pro Styler. March of 86 marked a banner time when this issue of Freestyling magazine came out. That's the test 40 years ago. For the first time, Redline was going to make available a complete super elite pro level bike, and this is it. The Redline RL22 was developed starting back in 1984 with the double top tube frame. Very iconic bike. This is the flagship among flagships as far as the pinnacle of freestyle, in my opinion. My flagship of my entire freestyle collection, and represents the glory days of freestyle in all its glory. Very refined parts, very refined decals, paint colors. Just the overall spec of the bike was mind-boggling, unbelievable. And the test was written 40 years ago, March of 1986, in that Freestyling magazine. So here we go on today's bike check. This is, again, the flagship of my collection. It includes all the best parts of the time period, in my opinion, and Redline's opinion. And they were speculating that the bike could sell complete for around $650 in 1986 money. That's pretty expensive by any accounts, but not as nearly as expensive as these bikes have gotten over the past couple of years. They do make reproductions of this bike. Redline Lineage, or the Kasten company, is doing the reproductions of these frames. This bike is an original 1986 serial numbered frame. The frame, this is really the only bike in my collection that I bought complete, restored, fully redone, because putting a bike like this together is a monumental task. So I was able to buy this bike from Dan Hagler in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I saw this bike on Facebook in 2017, I believe it was. I'll have to check that out. I'll put some pictures and so forth on here to accompany this video. But the bike was spec'd out exactly what I wanted. I wanted a catalog build, California red RL22. And this went one step beyond, because this bike was designed and built to be a replica of the bike that was tested in Freestyling magazine by Andy and Lou and those guys at Freestyling magazine. It includes a lot of NOS parts. The frame, fork, handlebar, and stem were all restored. The fork was re-chromed. The frame was restored by C4 Labs, Chip at C4 Labs. Same with the stem and handlebar to match. It does have all the original NOS parts. I mean, this is a super nice original 80s Alina Flight Tech. And these Oakley B2 grips. They include the Oakley donuts. They are original. These aren't any kind of reproduction. And I got the box with them. How crazy is that? Dan, when he built this bike up, any parts he bought NOS, he kept the boxes. The pedals were another NOS item. And there's the box for those MKS Graphite 2000 pedals. They're pretty cool. So starting off on this bike, they replicated. Now, the reproduction part I do have on the bike is the number plate. It's one of the new number plates from Kasten. It is the most, the best reproduction plate. It's got the reinforced ribbing on the back of the plate, embossed logo that's up on top here. And to add insult to injury, we even replicated the decals that were on the bike in the test article. And I'll put some pictures of the test article and some excerpts and so forth. Lots of information on this bike. I would say the first thing and the biggest thing on this bike that hardly anybody includes is these Tech 5 locking levers. This had some kind of barbaric lock on it. It was a wire lock. And they even say in the article how hard it was, that you needed two hands to operate this. These levers were too big. They were too cumbersome and whatnot. But nobody has the wire locking levers like this bike has on it. So that was one of the big selling features to me when I was looking at this bike. I got on the waiting list right after the day I saw this thing. I contacted Craig up at Bicycle Heaven, and I need to know the owner of this bike. I need to get on the waiting list, or at least have a shot at this bike. Little did I know it was going to be a couple of months later, and I had that opportunity. So I had to do some offloading and selling and so forth to get money together to buy this bike. But I appreciate Dan Hagler for working with me and saving the bike for me. He knew it would be in my collection and stay in my collection. And it has, and it will. Again, super flagship bike. I rarely ride this bike, especially if it's any kind of foul weather or if there's going to be any chance of me dropping it or somebody running into it. I have taken it to shows with my other bikes. I took a slew of bikes, actually 7 bikes, out to Crown Point, Indiana a couple years ago and lined up Murderer's Row, my creme de la creme bikes, all the heavy hitters of the time period from Hutch, Haro, Redline, SE. I had the whole gamut. And this was one of those bikes. The other tidbit is, if you're familiar with Freestyling magazine, Wendy Osborne was the photographer between her and Bob Osborne. And this article included some of these pictures of RL, including this black and white of him doing this look back. I contacted Wendy, and sure enough, she's still selling her photography and so forth. And I was able to get a print of that original photo from the Freestyling issue that included the test for this bike, with RL with his bandana mask on, clicking a look back on this exact bike. So that's pretty awesome. I even kept the mailing sleeve because it is obviously an Osborne's writing. If you're familiar with the magazine and so forth, the all caps writing, just the way they wrote. So I kept that box that the picture came in from Wendy Osborne. So, you know I'm a geek like that. The rest of the bike specs are just the creme de la creme as far as the parts go. They were the highest end parts. They were the aftermarket parts everybody wanted to buy, and this bike included them. Real Oakley grips, no off-brand grips, real pedals on the bike, came with MKS pedals. It didn't come with anything cheap. The Redline forklifter handlebar was relatively new at the time period. The lowered crossbar, plus the tabs for mounting the number plate. No zip ties, no Velcro, nothing like that. And again, we replicated the decals to replicate what was on that test bike with Freestyling magazine. Had a headset, and of course the unique double top tube frame. It is stupendous and restored very well from Chip at C4 Labs. Beautiful rendition of this color. The decals, the notched style gusset that they put, that's kind of specific for this bike. None of the other Redline bikes use that style of gusset. Has the red, California red, and then it fades to black at the bottom bracket and has decals to kind of matrix that transition and so forth. It fades down to black. And of course, hidden behind this is an original Techmatic bottom bracket. So although the cranks were refinished, the bottom bracket is an original Techmatic, which came out during that same time period as that test bike, and people were just flipping their lids for this bottom bracket because it was so trick, like race cars. Pretty much all the stuff that Redline did was like that. Moving on down through the parts, we've got the die-comp Nippon brakes. These are stamped 1986 with the Allen center bolt, semi-automatic adjuster, quick release, and I added, of course, little trick items like the dice cap end caps. This has NOS fork pegs on it, so they're not scuffed at all. Again, the forks were re-chromed, so they're in excellent shape. They're end cap, tapered leg forks. The wheels are the Paragon Master mag wheels. Dice caps, of course, on there. These are original tires, actually, from the 80s. Panaracer Freestyle tire, not the reproduction that they're doing right now. These are original set. I do have another set of the reproductions to put on here. You can see I'm starting to dry out and get a little cracked, and what happens to tires after they're 40 years old. So in the drivetrain department, of course, Redline flight cranks. This is a painted set, but it is an original set with the double dimple spindle, the bubble font chain ring, 44 tooth, the same way everything came. Izumi nickel plate chain, and again, the MKS Graphite 2000 pedals. I left the reflectors on there because that's the way this bike came. and they are NOS pedals. I rarely ride the bike with those pedals because they're a pretty brittle pedal, and they go away pretty fast. One downtime on those, you might be saying goodbye to a set of NOS pedals. The other tidbit on this bike is that when I bought this bike, it came with a coaster brake wheel on the back, and I ended up buying 4 different sets of wheels to try to find the whitest set of Paragon Master wheels that I could find. And I did locate them. These are super nice. They still have the graphite composite sticker, real deep as far as the mold lines for the Paragon Master. Super nice set of wheels and tires on this bike. The fluted seat post was an NOS item, as well as the Broken Arrow seat clamp. That's an original one. None of this stuff is reproduction. This is years before the Kasten came out with the reproduction parts. The frame design is classic. Like I said, going back to like 1984, they started doing these frame platforms where they extended the chainstays out. These are all tapered and end capped. I mean, the production quality of these bikes for a run-of-the-mill bike was stupendous. You really can't believe it now. Road bike companies and people might put out really refined bikes like that, but to do this all on a BMX and freestyle bike from the 80s was something else. So I also have an original owner's manual, the pilot's manual they call it, which dates back to 1986. Actually, this is a 1984 edition that they just included with all the bikes. They really weren't specific for any one bike, so this included pretty much all the 1980s bikes. So that's it in a nutshell. This bike has been a lot of places. It's taken me a great deal of time. I mean, we're talking 25 years of collecting and restoring freestyle bikes before I came up with what I consider the pinnacle of all freestyle bikes, the flagship of my collection, and then all the extra amenities that go with it. It is just far and above the epitome of 1986, the mid-80s freestyle boom. So that's it, the 1986 California Red RL22 Pro Styler.